26 at 7 p.m. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Mount Pleasant City Commission recognizes the Anishinaabe, whose ancestral lands the city stands upon today. We acknowledge the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe and recognize that the three bands of Ojibwe, Saginaw, Black River, and Swan Creek, have resided on this land for over 200 years. Our acknowledgement of the full history of the tribe and our commitment to be good stewards of these ancestral lands is an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those ancestors who came before us. We give thanks to the generous care with which the Anishinaabe and those members of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan have given and continue to give to this land and our community. Clerk Schmelzer, please take the roll.
Commissioner Alsager?
Here.
Commissioner Demarath?
Here.
Commissioner Perschbacher?
Here.
Commissioner Rollins?
Here.
Commissioner Skiletsky? Vice Mayor Eke?
Here.
Mayor Wingard?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, we are going to move into proclamations and presentations this evening. The first is we have an introduction of Department of Public Safety Officer, Professional Emily Withrow by Assistant Chief of Police Brandon Bliss.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing Emily Withrow. Emily is our latest records professional, and she began on March 16th. In her new position, she will report to Records Supervisor Amy Murphy. And Emily is a graduate of Northwood University, where she received her bachelor's degree in accounting. Emily is originally from Gladwin. However, she now lives in the city of Mount Pleasant. She also is excited to join the Department of Public Safety, and I would say that her smile daily leads me to believe that that is true. Please join me in welcoming Emily, and with much success. And if you'd like to say something.
I just wanted to say thank you for welcoming me to the team. I am very excited. I'm very excited to bring a smile to the office every single day.
Thank you. All right. Next this evening, we have an introduction and swearing in of paid on-call firefighter Andrew Funnel by Fire Chief Doug Lobsinger.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to introduce to you our newest paid on-call firefighter, Andrew Funnel. Andrew is a 21 graduate of Mount Pleasant High. Was born in Clare, but we said we would not hold that against him because he did not love. We're very excited. This is a recruit that we got from some of our other firefighters that we were up here swearing in within the last few years. And hopefully this is something that catches and continues. But welcome, Andrew. Raise your right hand and state your name.
I, Andrew Funnel,
Do solemnly swear that I will
do solemnly swear that I will
support the Constitution of the United States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the state of Michigan,
the laws of the state of Michigan,
the ordinances of the city of Mount Pleasant,
the ordinances of the city of Mount Pleasant,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of firefighter
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the firefighter
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. Welcome.
You'd like to say something tonight?
Just extremely excited to be a part of the team and be a part of the community and put others above myself.
Thank you. At this time, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Not seeing anyone coming forward with any. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Alasager, seconded by Commissioner Rollins to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. All right, we will move into public input on agenda items. At this time, if you are a member of the public and would like to speak on any of the items listed on the agenda, please step up to the microphone. You'll be given 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. And please also state the agenda item you are speaking on. If you are on Zoom, please use the raised hand function to indicate you would like to speak. Are there any emails that we have received? Any raised hands? Okay. Not seeing anyone hastening to the podium, I'm going to go ahead and close public input on agenda items then. And we'll move into receipt of petitions and communications. Manager Dissent, if you would.
Receipt of petitions and communications this evening includes Planning Commission Annual Report 2025, minutes of the Planning Commission from February, Council of Governments Agenda March and minutes from February, and letter from resident regarding zoning in the city.
Thank you. Then that will take us into our consent agenda. Manager Dissent, if you would.
Consent items this evening includes approval of minutes from the regular meeting held March 9, 2026. Consider awarding a 3-year contract for biosolids hauling to NutriGrow Environmental Solutions for a not to exceed contract price of $273,600. Consider awarding the contract for the 2026-2027 tree trimming removal bid to Chap Tree Service at the bid prices stated. Funding for this contract is included in the 2026 local and major streets budget. Funding for the 2027 portion of the contract will be included in the 2027 budget, and approval of payrolls and warrants.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda members of the commission would like to remove into the regular agenda? Are there any questions on any of the items? Not seeing any. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
See, motion made by Commissioner Alsager and seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. Okay, that'll bring us into our first public hearing of the evening. First and only, public hearing for the proposed changes to amend Chapter 93 of the Mount Pleasant City Code to adopt the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code as amended. Manager Dissent, if you'd give us some background.
Absolutely. Staff worked with our city attorney, Mike Homier, to draft the proposed amendment to the city's ordinances. The proposed amendment adopts the 2021 International Fire Code, but omits Appendix M, which was the stated intent of the City Commission. After the public hearing, the City Commission is asked to approve the proposed ordinance amendment.
All right. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Members of the public who would like to speak on this topic, please step up to the microphone. You'll be given 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. If there are multiple members in the audience, please form a queue. And if you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature.
Hello, my name is Joseph Carrion. I live on 109 North Arnold Street. I want to talk about a promise that was made by this commission a while back. So in regards to upzoning, there was a lot of backlash that upzoning prior CD3 to CD4. There's a lot of backlash that people didn't want to see the same ugly apartments being built. This commission made it very clear that we would be aiming for unique structures like cottage homes and other alternatives. Now, I'm not here tonight to tell you to say no to the 2021 International Fire Code, as I'm sure the problems that exist in this version also exist in our currently adopted version. But I am here to warn you that fire codes are the reason we see so many of the same apartments, specifically when we talk about minimum number of stairways. Section 1006.3.3 states that a minimum of 2 stairways is needed for what we see in our standard apartments. This is why we not only see the same apartment styles being built, but it's why we see lack of apartments, uniqueness in general. It's far cheaper to make an entire apartment complex connected to 2 staircases than have more staircases. This limits the design heavily. It's why most apartments only have one wall of windows, right? Because all of them are built on the outside facing inward towards those two staircases, and they're just built around those staircases. Like I said, I'm not here tonight to tell you guys to say no to this. The problems exist now, and they're gonna exist in this current. What I am asking this commission is to hold an actual conversation in the future to actually set standards that make sense. Because the current rules were not created to fix safety. They were just there to slow it down. So there are better people who can talk about this than I can. There's a channel called About Here on YouTube who does a way better job at this. He has 2 videos specializing in this exact topic. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any raised hands on Zoom? Any emails? Is there anyone else in the audience? Okay, not seeing anyone. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And I will turn it back to the members of the commission. Talking on this item, I believe this was originally brought to us in September of 2025, I think is originally. We had at least 1 work session, if not 2 work sessions on 2025, and then it was brought back to our attention at the beginning of this year after staff had extended discussion and research on the topic. Anyone interested in making a motion?
Kind of flipping through pages.
Yeah, I saw you going for it. Yeah. Commissioner Perschbacher, go ahead.
I motion that we adopt the amendments to chapter 93 of the Mount Pleasant City Code to adopt the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Perschbacher and seconded by the Vice Mayor to approve the proposed changes to the International Fire, the Mount Pleasant City Code to adopt the 2021 edition. Is there discussion?
I wanted to indicate that we have had extensive conversation about this fire code several times. At a certain point, we wanted it, the indication was to adopt it with the appendices. And then we were informed that there were complications if those appendices were there, right? And we had to also consider the fiscal impact on the, buildings that, at least the 2 buildings that were of concern to us. I do recall asking Director Lopsinger of the implications for the fire, for the people, the fire department and the people who would be involved. And it seems to me that there is understanding that this has gone through, a lot of review and that it is in keeping with the 2021, fire code, at least in terms of what other cities are also doing. So at this point, we do need to move forward. We do need to have something that would guide what our people do. And I do think that it is important for us to be in compliance with the International Fire Code. And so this is why I'm supporting this. Okay.
Commissioner
I
Allison.
just have a comment. As I'm reading our recommended motion, did we say as amended?
Mhm.
Okay, in that case, I'm happy with it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Staff's good with the language used in the motion. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay. In that case, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please indicate by saying nay. Motion passes. That brings us into new business. First item is number 12. Consider setting a public hearing for April 13th, 2026 to allow for public input and to consider the amendment of section 110.28B regarding the operation of transitory food service units and the issuance of permits, licenses, or approvals for transitory food service units. This is a new business. Normally we'll put public hearings and the setting of public hearings into the consent agenda. I had asked for it to be put into the new business just to give us an opportunity to check back in. This came to us a few weeks ago, and members of the public had come forward with some proposed changes that the commission had found largely reasonable. Just wanted to make sure this was highlighted to the commission and that there was an opportunity to see if there was any changes that weren't up to our satisfaction, we could send back before setting the public hearing. Commissioner Alcindor.
I think it's been well written and amended.
Okay. In that case, we'd be looking for a motion then to set the public hearing for April 13th.
I move that we set a public hearing for April 13th to explore, to discuss an ordinance amending city code regarding the operation of transitory food service units and the issuance of permits, licenses, or approvals for transitory food service units.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Rollins. All those in favor of the motion to set the public hearing, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. Okay, that brings us to what I would argue is one of the more enjoyable things we get to do on the city commission. Let's see, item number 13 is consider prioritization and approval of submission of city requests for spring 2026 Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe 2% allocation. Manager Sense, if you just want to give us a brief background or overview.
Yeah, absolutely. City Commission annually reviews staff requests for 2% allocation grants through the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. Proceeds from certain type of gaming are offered by the tribe as part of the grant program. As part of this review, the City Commission is asked to rank the top 5 projects for consideration from the tribe. Top projects do not need to be in ranking order. Instead, they should convey the top 5 projects that are most important to each city commissioner. We will then provide the collective 5 rankings to the tribe when submitting all of the grant applications to them. The tribal council considers these priority projects listed by the city commission when making their awards.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I say fun not because it's projects are necessarily great that we need to fix things, but just to see the work that staff is doing, and again, the generosity of our partners at the tribe, it's just a great process for the city all around. Anyway, Clerk Schmelzer, I hand it over to you.
Commissioner Alsager?
Okay, mine's pretty simple. There are 4 that are listed as critical, and those are the 2 for the airport, the runway rehab project and operations. And then the next one down the list is the peak program. And then a little farther down is the landfill remediation. And then for my last one, I'm going to go to the water department, and let's fund that lime disposal like I always vote for.
Commissioner Demarath?
Actually, that's what I'm thinking too. So, yes.
Same.
Yes. God, it's kind of easy. I was like, oh.
Vice Mayor Eke?
Vice Mayor Eke has the 4 critical items: the runway rehabilitation, the operations, peak, Franklin landfill, lime disposal, and the last one is the Broadway sidewalk.
Oh, which airport one?
The two airport, there's runway rehabilitation and then there's operations. I believe those are two airport
They're
ones.
two separate ones, though.
Yeah.
You'll have to choose, unfortunately.
No,
Good.
I have to choose
no,
one?
she won't. No, she
Oh.
won't.
I don't have to. Do I?
If
No.
you said the four, I miscounted. My apologies.
Okay,
Vice Mayor?
mean, I'm having difficulty choosing between the two. I mean, we have to operate the
No.
airport, right?
I thought I counted wrong. I just counted
Okay,
wrong.
so I go back.
No, you're good.
Runway rehabilitation project. The operations for the airport. Partners empowering all kids, which is peak. The North Franklin former landfill remediation and Broadway sidewalk. I think those are the things those are the ones I gave you, right? Paul, you don't have one, so.
Commissioner Birschbacher.
I'm gonna go with the runway rehab project. The airport operations. Peak. 1303 North Franklin former landfill remediation and the lime disposal.
Commissioner Rollins.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Peak. The former landfill. The 1303 North Franklin landfill remediation, lime disposal, and the condition assessment of water main.
Water main, line, Franklin, and. Oh, you're at four.
Oh, really?
You need one more.
I need one more.
Mhm.
Jeez, I never knew it'd be this hard to spend money.
Quest.
We're asking for it.
Sewer relining.
No. We've got the landfill.
Should be fine, correct?
Are those the same?
I would say that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mayor Wingard.
Yeah. I had Peak, Partners Empowering All Kids. 1303 North Franklin, former landfill remediation. Operations for the airport. The runway rehab project. And then I'll go with lime disposal.
Thank you.
Mhm. No, okay. Let's see, and that should be everything
I
that's
think it's done.
needed for number 13, I believe. Yep, so that would bring us to item number 14, discussion on takeaways and information shared at Michigan Municipal League CapCon 2026. I'll hand it over to Manager DeSense to start us off there.
Yeah, so highlights from the Capitol Convention from the Michigan Municipal League 2026. There were presentations from several people running for governor for the state of Michigan, which was really interesting. A lot of sessions on zoning, housing, and other current events. This year, a lot of the content was dominated by some preemptive zoning bills that are at the state level. And so a lot of the conference was really geared towards that, trying to kind of charge municipal officials and get them educated on that particular issue, and then to ask for them to advocate to the state legislature to try to essentially dissuade legislators from preemptive bills like this and trying to work with local communities to partner on issues like housing. So overall, really interesting. Definitely, a conference where it was interesting. I think this is the first time I've been attending this conference for several years running now. And I think the first time where there was this real, very clear call to action, here's where we need you and here's where we need you now sort of thing. So.
Very good. Let's see. Other members of the commission who had the opportunity to attend, any takeaways? Commissioner Alsinger.
Well, I agree with Manager DeSense. I really did enjoy getting to hear all of the gubernatorial candidates. And there was one I'd never heard of before. I mean, the rest of them I've heard of before, but, and that was real interesting to hear that. And then, I didn't get to the breakfast on time to talk with our legislators. And I understand that perhaps Commissioner Eke might have a comment on that one. But I agreed going to many of the sessions. I like to be kind of a session junkie when I go to these. So I enjoyed my time there.
I did the legislature breakfast. Interestingly, the two representatives, actually only one of them came. There wasn't a reason given for the other person not being there, but I was told that they were expecting them, but they didn't come. And I had conversation about, housing. In the sessions that I attended, land use and zoning seem to be critical issues, and I had extensive conversation with some of the staff who deal with zoning issues, talk about zoning issues. And of course, that's something that we have to talk about. And Manager DeSense has mentioned, the new zoning, whatever ordinance or act that they're trying to enforce or impose on communities. And in fact, in the conversation with Representative Hauk, we talked about that, and he was saying it's not good for us, it's not good for us. And in fact, the MML staff, in every conversation that I had with the few people I spoke to, including elected officials from other communities, that was an issue of concern for them. The fact that if that goes through, it is going to take zoning away from the hands of municipalities. In other words, they're trying to craft some act that creates a uniform zoning, act, and that, in other words, in a way, disregarding the uniqueness of, various communities. So for that is problematic. The other thing that I found out was also in a conversation about the Renewable Energy Act. And they mentioned, I was shocked, they mentioned that Michigan ranked worst in the world in terms of air quality. And it is because of the wildfire, the impact of the wildfire. I was surprised. I thought, oh my God. Of course, I knew air quality. I felt air quality was bad around here, but geez, the Canadian wildfire, the impact. So this is what we get from, and it in many ways, it ought to make us become mindful of how we appreciate the environment, what we do with our waters, what we do, in our communities, and especially because we here also, we've been talking about, preserving the environment. We've been talking about, sustainable environmental policies, that policies that are helpful, that, are protective of the environment. So, if one community suffers, other communities also suffer, right? Okay, so yeah, that's at least, that's what I got. They're small, but I think that's enough.
Okay. Any other members of the commission who had the opportunity to attend?
Commissioner
Perschbacher?
As I have been doing since I became a commissioner, I've attended the CapCon and the MML conferences. The importance of it is not only the things that we learn there, but being able to talk to other individuals and other municipalities. I enjoy going to the CapCon for a couple of reasons. One is because it is in Lansing, I'm able to go down to and talk to legislature individuals in the Congress down there and find out their movement forward, look at some of the things that they have brought forward and go and talk to them one-on-one and figure out what was the reasoning behind this. I think the reasoning behind some of this housing bill is because there are so many areas that need to upgrade their housing. They need to look at their zoning carefully, and they're not, or they're getting tied up in debate instead of moving forward to create these zones for housing. And I think that that is one of the ways that they feel that they're just going to push this forward. I think that each city has their own unique space, and we should allow the cities and the municipalities to create that space for the residents there. But I can also understand everyone complains about not having housing, but we get tied up in debate about what to do with certain lands instead of actually moving forward on things. But I do enjoy going down to those because I do have a lot of friends at different municipalities at this point. Reconnecting with them, talking to the former mayors and current mayors in the state, and being able to just say, how's everything going? What's going on in yours? And it's surprising how when no matter where you are, if you're in Sheboygan or if you're in Grand Rapids or if you're in Mount Pleasant, we all have the same issues going on. We all have the same things happening, and we can kind of like come together and say, what is your idea on this? What is your idea on this? And really help each other work through it. So I've always appreciated going down and getting that training, getting that extra information.
Hey, thank you. Okay, that brings us to our last item on the new business, consider creation of a special committee. Let's see. This year, the Mount Pleasant City Commission has held 2 separate work sessions regarding the potential creation of a tenants' rights committee for the city of Mount Pleasant. During these sessions, there has appeared to be general support for the creation of such a committee, but a more defined proposal would be required to move forward. At this time, I am requesting the creation of a special committee made up of 3 members of the City Commission to meet, discuss, and develop a more defined proposal with recommendations that may be brought back to the Commission as a whole for review and deliberation. Talking about this, during the last work session, I had indicated that I could appoint members to the special committee as mayor. Reviewing the charter, we would first need to create the committee beforehand. So that's where it's bringing back to the rest of the members of the commission. Be looking to, in the memo that I had drafted to the commission, it'd be looking to create the special committee to explore the further creation of a city board or commission focused upon the rights and experience of tenants, and then have them report back with a written report that we could then review and discuss, again, more defined aspects of what that would look like.
Was that a motion?
I can make the motion, and wanted to first just see if there was any discussion or anything that we had beforehand. If not, yeah,
I wasn't gonna say anything, but we have already discussed this, so
Yeah.
I think it's important to move forward, with it.
Perfect. In that case, I would motion to create a special committee of the Mount Pleasant City Commission to explore the further creation of a city board or commission focused upon the rights and experiences of tenants within the city of Mount Pleasant. The special committee shall be made up of 3 members of the Mount Pleasant City Commission and shall present its recommendations on the topic to the commission at large in a written report.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Motion made by myself as mayor, seconded by Commissioner Alsager. All those in favor of the creation of the special committee, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. So as part of that same agenda item, I will go ahead and appoint the members of the special committee. I have Vice Mayor Eke, Commissioner Sklitsky, and Commissioner Perschbacher. That brings us to the end of our new business and into announcements on city-related issues and new business. Starting as always, Commissioner Al Sager.
One of the residents that likes to keep in touch with me tried to call today to sign up for the brush pickup, and she was told not till next Monday. And that's when residents can sign up and perhaps be one of the, I don't know if it's 100 or 150 that get it for free. So she's going to be first in line for that. So that's just a reminder if you have brush that needs to be picked up.
Commissioner Demaroff.
Yeah, so it's getting lighter outside. Be careful when you're driving, be careful when you're biking. There's a lot of kids, a lot of pedestrians, so just be careful.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Eke.
Okay, I have been approached by possibly the same person several times regarding this has to do complaints regarding people or neighbors who are operating home businesses and who have been engaging in burnishing furniture, metal, or sanding metal, and spraying and a whole range of things. And I would like us to look at what our ordinance says about that and to see where if there's a gap in ordinance and existing ordinance to see if we can address that, because this person has spoken to me about it more than once. I do recall asking city planner, I think at a presentation that the city planner made a question about that, whether, what constituted a violation. Okay, and where there isn't clarity, I do think that it's important to clarify that. What constitutes a violation of an existing ordinance, if one exists about, home businesses and the nature of home businesses, and if there are gaps, we need to address this. This particular person has talked to me several times about it. I brought it up once, and I'm bringing it up again because the person has complained that within the past week, this particular business has done a lot of spraying where 5 families of 5 trucks have come to the same place to pick up items, and they're worried. I think it's our responsibility to look into that and see if we need to update that and to address any gaps. I'm just bringing it up FYI so that we think about it for the future and maybe look into it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Perschbacher.
Well, I remember saying last time that that I was hoping that spring had sprung at that moment, but it hadn't. So I'm assuming that somebody put their plow off their vehicle or took their snow shovel in, and that's why we got snow. But today I am excited to say that my crocuses are coming up and my daffodils are starting to bloom, and I know that the city looks absolutely beautiful in the spring with all of the trees budding and the flowers. And I just want everyone to just take a moment to appreciate the beauty that we have in our city and in our parks.
Thank you. Commissioner Rollins.
I have nothing.
Okay. I will echo that. I have no announcements or anything at this time. That'll take us into public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. If you are a member of the public and would like to comment on anything on or off the agenda, please step up to the microphone. You'll be given 5 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record. If there are multiple people, please form a queue. If you're on Zoom, please use the raised hand feature to indicate that you would like to speak.
I'm Brandy Andrews. 2 weeks ago, I was kind of shook to speak because I had never spoken at one of these meetings. But I want to express appreciation to the city for hearing the preschool parents about the children's safety at that corner. We've actually had, I apologize in advance. I don't know how many commissioners went out to speak with the director, but I know at least one. has gone out to speak with Miss Carrie Graham, and I'm hopeful that we're working towards a solution for a barrier just on the sidewalk, but thank you guys for taking attention to it.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Doug LaBelle, 955 Meadowbrook Drive, right here in Mount Pleasant. I'm just really just kind of getting caught up with this tenants committee, the rights committee that's been brought up. The only meeting I've been able to watch was the one from February 23rd. It's roughly about an hour of what I was able to get caught up on, so I'm not really sure what's transpired over the last month. So if some of this information is old, just forgive me. I couldn't help but notice that we're trying to create a tenants' rights committee. However, I listened to the police chief and the fire chief indicate that there really isn't much of an issue. If it is, it's very minimal. So if we are creating a tenants' rights committee, I guess I would want to maybe see the data that supports where this would be needed. And even better, I would prefer to hear, half a dozen to a dozen specific examples of what may be happening that is causing the reason for this tenants' rights committee. So that's my first question, I guess. And if there is an issue, where's the data support that? I did notice that there are some commissioners that were not in favor of a landlord even being part of that committee. I mean, it seems reasonable to me that if we're trying to rectify tenant landlord issues or just tenant issues, that we would get a group equally with the same amount of each landlords and tenants reps on each side to formulate how to rectify these issues. As I said, it seemed like a few commissioners were not in support of any landlords being on there. And I would say if that's how we end up moving forward, then I think it's only fair that there's a landlord only committee as well. I think if we're trying to fairly represent everything here and go about trying to fix whatever the issues are, then I think it would be fair that both sides have a say in how to fix that. If there's that big of an issue, but listening to the police chief and listening to the fire chief, it didn't seem like they had any major concerns. And if they were very minimal, and not even sure those concerns would be really the city commission's job to rectify. And I don't know that because I don't know what those situations are. So if there's the data and or situations that support that, I would love to hear those and see if is that a tenant landlord issue, or is that something the city commission needs to step in, that landlords are violating, tenants' rights of some sort, or they've got something that they're breaking the law with, not being up to code. I will say that our fire inspections are every year. They are very strict with us. And we make sure that whatever is not up to code has to be fixed. So thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Sloan Grahalski, and I live at 9370 East Rosebush Road here in Mount Pleasant. I'm also here to talk about the Landlord Tenant Committee, or the Tenant Rights Committee. I own several properties locally and manage approximately 100 more, and I've worked very hard to build a company that I'm proud of. I am the highest reviewed property management company in the area. I'm known for working with people and not against them, and I think that would be the very definition of what the commission is trying to achieve here. So I'm here today not just as a landlord, but as someone who operates in the reality of these relationships every single day. And because of that, I do believe I've earned a seat at this table in the conversation. So let me start with this. I do believe that your intentions are good, and I believe you're trying to protect people. But I'd like to offer some observation as to why I think a lot of landlords are struggling with this. I have talked to a lot of people, firemen, police officers, and tenants. And I believe I can offer some insight on what I think is happening, the disconnect here. So I think the issue is in how the intention is being translated into action. Right now, this feels very one-sided, even the title would say so, and not just in the direction of the proposal, but in the language of the materials being used to support them. And I want to explain why that matters. You guys have referenced the Ann Arbor Handbook a lot of times, and what stood out to me most was really the bad advice that it gave to tenants in that handbook and just the policies and its tone. For example, it advises tenants to sign a lease even if they believe the terms are unfair and to challenge those terms after the fact. It states on page 34, read your lease with a grain of salt and a dash of pepper. If you spot illegal and unenforceable clauses in a lease before you sign it, it may be unwise to argue with your landlord, who may then think you are a troublemaker and refuse to rent to you. Tenant lawyers usually advise if you want the place, sign the lease and move in if the rent is acceptable. And if the lease clause seems unfair and is being used against you, see a tenant lawyer or tenants union for advice and information. Once in your dwelling, if you want to bargain with those or about those lease terms, it may still be difficult to work by yourself. Tenants unions collectively bargaining with your tenants of the same landlord may help you. First, in what world is it ever a good idea to sign a lease that you do not agree with? This is a legal binding contract, so I do not understand why this is legal advice that a tenant should be following. It teaches them to enter a legally binding agreement in bad faith. It teaches them that contracts are optional, and it sets the relationship up to be adversarial from day one. That's not protection, that's conflict creation. The handbook also discusses withholding rent. It does not clearly explain the legal process required to do that properly. So what happens in real life? A tenant reads that, withholds rent incorrectly, and now they're in violation, whether intended or not. Sorry, I lost my spot. And now instead of solving a maintenance issue, we've created a legal problem. That's the gap between intention and outcome. Page 31, under bargaining with your landlord for your rights, it quickly turns into advice on negotiating rent in the event of an increase at renewal in rebuttal to a landlord using economic justification. And it states, landlord can make money in many ways, and it lets them know very quickly that rent buys landlords new clothes and new cars. They additionally list appreciation, cash flow profit, and depreciation is described as a pretend loss, and I quote that, to offset other expense. It describes a landlord's legal right to negotiating a rent increase as, and I quote, a landlord's attempted justification for depriving you of your legal rights. This whole section is quite unbelievable, false, misleading, and frankly slanders. Then it even instructs a tenant to request to see the landlord's financial statements and their profit statements. But here's the reality that we operate in. Property taxes are rising, insurance costs are increased significantly, especially in college markets. Maintenance, turnover, and repairs are real and ongoing expenses.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kyle Campbell, 568 Hiawatha Drive here in Mount Pleasant. I really wasn't planning on saying anything this evening, but I'm here. I just kind of showed up to see what's going on here. I've never been to a city commission meeting before, but here I am. I understand there's been conversation about trail improvements in our parks, and appreciate your comment about our parks and enjoying their beauty. I guess trail improvements, more specifically like single track mountain bike trails. I am currently in a position where I travel, an hour to 2 hours every week to go somewhere to ride mountain bike trails. And I think that it's something that this city could absolutely benefit from, a new type of multi-use trail. And I would just like to see that conversation maybe brought back into the light a little bit more at this time. And I'd love to spend some time talking about it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Margin Notstein, 1361 South Crawford Street. More than 50%, I'm speaking about southwest corner again. More than 50% of the city of Mount Pleasant's land is untaxed. Schools, churches, parks, and CMU, all worthy entities, but they are not part of the tax base. As the budget goes up, and it will, and you have given this 30 acres away forever as more untaxed land, and it is no part of our tax base, every residence in this city will pay more tax. You talk of lopping off 5 acres of the 30 acres, and I wonder who will decide what 5 acres to divide away? Will it be, let's see, along Broomfield? So, sort of like that. And you have houses along here, possibly, duplexes, whatever, and the school behind. Or will it be the 5 acres to the west, squished between the school and this driveway that goes down to the CMU property? Or will it be the 5 acres to the east, squished between this proposed commercial area and the school? You have this area here. Will it be a ring road and you put the school in front and the 5 acres behind, but you got to get into it, so you got to have roads. And if you only have one road, you end up with an L shape and a dead end road there. So those are your possibilities for lopping off 5 acres. I don't see any other way, or maybe there is. What would be best for the city or best for the private use? Who decides? In my mind, few land developers will want to mess with 5 acres, such a small piece of property. They'll need large machines for land movers and road graders and making a street and digging water and sewer lines and maybe curbs, electricity, sidewalks, a huge investment and a small 5 acre property. Let me make a prediction. Maybe 5 years down the road, Mr. Peters has not built anything on that 5 acres. We will have different commissioners. I will have died or am not paying any attention. They will say it's just a small piece of unused land, and the school will ask to have it rezoned. And they will make it part of their 25 acres and their original plan. Sounds like that's what's going to happen. Please don't think that anyone concerned with the tax base would be happy. It's not really a compromise to divide away part of the 30 acres. Just zone the entire property for homes as was envisioned years ago. It's still a good idea for our city's future. Everyone can see the empty fields around Mount Pleasant. At least 3 of the partnering churches have built their new buildings outside the city, just as they could do so to their school, and they still all have Mount Pleasant addresses. The southern 50+ acres is beyond your control. It was given to CMU, and it's already a CZ status. But please consider keeping the 30 acres for the benefit of our own city budget. I thank you. Just my opinion.
Hi, Michelle Voigt, 1619 East Gaylord. I'm finishing Tiffany's comments for her. So when tenants are told those costs are exaggerated or pretend, it does one thing very effectively. It erodes trust before the relationship even begins. And that matters more than anything because this is not a one-time transaction. This is an ongoing day-to-day working relationship between 2 people who depend on each other. If we start that relationship from a place of distrust, we are guaranteeing more disputes, not fewer. I also want to address something else that has come up in these discussions, risk. For us, risk is not theoretical, it's personal. I am 5 foot, I got that right, I'm not 125 pounds, but Tiffany is. When emergency calls come in at night, I'm often the one responding. I am responsible for my residents, my staff, and myself. So when policies begin to limit my ability to make informed, risk-based decisions, especially around things like prior behavior or safety concerns, I need to understand how is that risk being shared. Because I must say this, I want you to please hear me. I cannot and will not knowingly put myself or others in harm's way. Every day in this business, we make decisions based on risk, financial, operational, and physical. That's not discrimination, that's responsibility when done with fair housing laws. There has to be room for that. I've also heard it said that only a small percentage, 2% of landlords are the problem. But I also hear from our local police and fire departments that many of these issues are already being handled, often with a level of context, discretion, and relationship building that policy simply cannot replicate. So the question becomes, if these situations are already being addressed case by case and applaudingly efficient, I might add, why are we moving toward blanket policies that remove that flexibility? Because in real life, these situations are rarely black and white. Ann Arbor has over 25,000 rentals, Mount Pleasant roughly a third of that. Ann Arbor inspects their rentals every 3 years. Mount Pleasant inspects annually. If 2% of landlords are the issue, which calculates to around 5 landlords in our smaller city, perhaps it should be considered that maybe we are attempting to cover a paper cut with full body cast. We are already outperforming our surrounding cities in keeping up high standards to landlords. When I step back and look at everything, this is what I see. You are trying to create fairness, but I must ask the question directly, fair for whom? From where we stand, the current approach risks creating imbalance and unintentionally pushing landlords and tenants into a more adversarial relationship. And that's the part that concerns me the most, because the best outcomes don't come from one side winning. They come from both sides being able to work together. That's what I do every day, and that's what I hope we continue to protect. So what I would propose is throw that Ann Arbor handbook away, abolish the Tenant Rights Committee title, and make this something like the Housing Collaboration Council or the Landlord-Tenant Partnership Board, and focus on both parties working together rather than one side being prioritized over the other. Thanks.
Are there any raised hands? Any emails? Okay. Not seeing anyone else in line, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment on agenda and non-agenda items. Let's see, it is 7:57.
10 minutes, please.
We do have a closed session this evening, so we'll need to take a vote to go into closed session before we go to recess, but thank you. Let's see, is there a motion?
Everybody's racing to get to the mic this evening.
Gotta get that in there before anyone else
Get in
jumps
there,
in.
right?
Let's see, is there any can I have
Commissioner
someone?
Alsager.
Oh, Commissioner Alsager, thank you.
I move that we move into closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material subject to attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Alsager and seconded by Commissioner Rollins. We need a roll call vote to go into closed session.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Alsager,
Yes.
Commissioner Demarath,
Yes.
Commissioner Perschbacher,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ake,
Yes.
Mayor Wingard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. We're going to go into we will go into recess, and when we return, we will be in closed session. We will be returning at 8:10.
I'm just excited that, it's still daylight and we're going.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the enthusiasm here.
Everyone's like, "Oh, I gotta get out there."
Yes, exactly. It's like, yes, you can still see my hands here, my face. Yeah.
It is 8 o'clock and the sun is still out.
I know, right? Exciting.
Mhm.
Pumped up.
Yeah, they usually come down, that's usually still right.
Which one do you have? Oh, you have the kind bar.
Huh?
You have a kind bar. I had a.
Yeah. You're already out.